Hello, everybody. I'm really good at streaming. Okay, so abridged version of what I just said, which nobody could hear. To get into the DLC area, you need to pick up the Eye of a Blood-Drunk Hunter, which you can pick up off the floor in the Hunter's Dream. Once you beat Vicar Amelia, though I would not necessarily recommend going to the DLC area right after you do so. I did, and I had a bad time. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, Old Hunter's Bell. You can also pick this up at the very beginning of the game if you have the DLC, and it greatly expands the number of summonable NPCs you can do if you're having trouble with bosses. In the base game there were like two. You had Father Gascon for the Cleric Beast, and you had Alfred for the Bloodstarved Beast, and that was about it. Now you have a bunch. Okay, let me just switch out my runes here. There we go. Okay. He should be ready to go. I'm gonna warn everybody now that the Old Hunters is actually kind of scary in the traditional sense, at least I have found. So, viewer discretion is advised. Alright, so to access the DLC area is actually pretty simple because once you pick up the Old Hunter's Eye, the game tells you what to do. Basically, we gotta get grabbed by this fella.
Curse Taphims, their children too. And their children forever true.
Now, if you get grabbed by the BC before you have the Blood-Drunk Hunter's Eye, you just take a bunch of damage, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. So I have gone through the DLC once, and I know where most everything is, so I won't be bumbling around. But that doesn't mean I'll just breeze through it, because this is a pretty difficult area. We pop out in what appears to be a interesting version of the Cathedral Ward. So these are the main enemies for this area, the Old Hunters. They are pretty scary. Less scary if they fall off, but still pretty scary. They actually wield a bunch of the new weapons that are available. How did you hit me? I don't appreciate that at all. Anyway, as I was saying, they actually wield a bunch of the new weapons that are available. I think it's a really cool way to intro them and demo them. Ow. Also, just for reference, this is actually on my old PvP character, because I hadn't actually gone into New Game Plus on that character, so this was the easiest way for me to get into it without having to do a whole new playthrough. So I will be using the Burial Blade and the Blades of Mercy. Fortunately, this character is actually at a pretty good level for the DLC, as opposed to when I first went through this area as like level 24. That was not good. That was a difficulty. So as you can see, this area is actually quite populated with beastmen, but they're all rather afraid. I don't even have fire out. The reason they're afraid is because they have to deal with the old hunters who absolutely demolish them. I'm not too shabby myself, but left to their own devices, the old hunters will just demolish this mob all by themselves. Actually, I think this calls for the Burial Blade. So, as you might be able to see, this guy still has the Beast Cutter. But his friend over there, who I'm trying not to aggro because two at once is a little much, has a different weapon. Whoops. This guy is wielding the Boom Hammer, which is a hammer that is on fire and explodes. It does a lot of damage. He also has a lot of super armor. Another thing you might notice about the old hunters is that they are all kind of loud. They are having a lot of fun just screaming about blood. The way to Byrgenwerth in this world is closed. In fact, Byrgenwerth might not even exist in this nightmare. There are actually a number of different ways to approach this area, and which one you take sort of depends on how confident you are. Going straight through the gate is fine if you're like me, as I am right now, and fairly powerful and ready and well equipped to deal with things. But if you are at a lower level, like I was when I first did this, then going along the top path is safer. You can more or less bypass that entire area just by sticking to the high ground and let the hunters take care of the beasts for you. They will be more than happy to do so. Also, there's dogs. Dogs, as usual, are among the most dangerous enemies here. They look like some form of very slimy Doberman. It's a little unsettling. Most of the beasts and dogs in this game are very hairy, but those guys are not. Not at all. Now, I will try not to talk too much about lore during this because it probably only interests me, and it's sort of obtuse if you don't know the whole picture, and it's sort of obtuse even if you do. But the significance of the way that this stone formation is sort of erupted out of the ground, this sort of living stone is actually indicative of the nightmare, if that makes sense. Please do not call it nightmare poop. Alright, this is more or less the final variety of Old Hunter, who is wielding the Beast Hunter's Scythe, which I am actually going to try using. He is probably the most dangerous kind, because he's very fast and very aggressive. The transformed form of the scythe also does a whole lot of damage. This is actually a really good place to go if you don't want to deal with chalice dungeons, but you do want good blood gems. I see you over there. Oh, I did misspeak. There is one final kind of hunter, but they're very similar to each other. This guy has the Beast Hunter's Scythe, but he also has the Piercing Rifle, which is another new weapon you can get. I don't like it very much, to be honest. Now, before we explore much further, there is something that I do want to do, which is go down here. Because, like, in any good Bloodborne fashion style... Let me start that again. Like any good area in Bloodborne, there are a bunch of shortcuts that you can open that make coming through it again easier. Opening up this gate gives us a clear shot basically from here back to where we started, so that will save us a lot of time, which will probably be necessary. If you're doing this area for the first time, I actually recommend just leaving the beasts alone. They're really not very threatening or very aggressive. If we drop down this way, I believe we will eventually find the first of the new weapons. Yeah, there we are, the Beast Cutter. Whoop! There are also some traps in this area that are quite devious, such as these mounted goofy barrel machine gun emplacements. You can destroy them, but if you step on the traps, they will shoot at you and do quite a bit of damage. Let me just demo the Beast Cutter real quick. You've actually seen quite a bit of it already from the old hunters. If I can find it. There we are. Okay. So in its untransformed form, it's fairly unremarkable. It's a big heavy thing with some serrated edges. However, when you transform it, it becomes the Threaded Cane's bigger, nastier brother. It can be a little bit of an unwieldy weapon. However, it actually served me extremely well when I was first coming through this area, because the basic heavy attack is actually super safe. It has really high range, and it's almost guaranteed to knock people over, or at least stagger them. So you can get some very safe hits in by just using this attack over and over. And then you just sort of back off and wait for your stamina to regenerate, and you can do that again. It's not the fastest or most efficient way to take out enemies, but it is pretty safe, especially if you're an underleveled baby. It also has a pretty cool transform back attack. Sort of slam it into the ground. Now, I won't be using this very much right now because it's not upgraded at all, so it will do basically no damage. And as you might have noticed, the enemies in this area are kind of spongy. So we need some weapon upgrades. Now, I think my memory might be playing tricks on me, but I do remember there was one last hunter over here. I might have already gotten rid of him. I don't know. Either way. Now this is a sort of double-edged trap here. The beast will ambush you from across the way. Not across the way, but sort of like behind your line of sight. But if you're observant, you will also notice that some of the villagers up there will release the giant flaming ball, like they did in Central Yharnam before Father Gascon, and it will actually kill them for you. The villagers will try to retreat into the church, but will get greeted by this pleasant-looking guy. I'm not really sure what to call him. He is very mean, though. However, he does have a bit of a weakness. Well, not to that, but to getting parried. I will try to show that off. There we go. Oh, god damn it. I hate fighting on slopes. Whoop. He is very dangerous if you let him power up. That was an error on my part. There we go. This should work better since I'm not on a slope. For whatever reason, slopes really screw with your visceral attack hitbox. Killing that guy is largely unnecessary, but it does offer quite a few blood vials, so it's worth your time, provided you don't get into a huge quagmire fighting him. Interesting little tidbit. First time I came through here, I actually got a really weird texture glitch, where these walls didn't appear, so it looked like I was going into a cathedral floating in nothingness. At the time, I honestly thought that might have been intended, since we are in a nightmare and things don't necessarily have to make sense, but it's not quite that abstract yet. For whatever reason, despite the fact this looks like it would be a great place for a boss fight, the cleric beast that is also on fire is completely inert. Even when we take his item, he will do nothing. The eye pendant is a necessary key to progress, but its use won't become evident for a while. It also provides a clue of where to go, beyond the River of Blood. So the Grand Cathedral, or this world's version of it, is a bit of a dead end. So instead, we have to go through this interesting looking tunnel that was not necessarily there in the real world, or whatever passes for the real world. We already ran into one of these machine gun emplacements earlier, but this is a bit more elaborate. He has several set up, and we need to dash through making use of cover. It's actually not too difficult. The path is fairly straightforward. Once you make it, you can just destroy them. Now, that fellow is standing right on a trap and will not move. Basically, he's trying to bait you into not noticing this one, so you get shot in the back when you attack him, but I am far too clever. And now he just sort of sits there. There is also one more gun I want to take out that's hidden by the carriage here. It's basically to catch you off guard if you're trying to take refuge here. You sort of need to sprint past this amygdala skull. Without any machine guns to trigger, this doesn't do anything. Now, these guys have an interesting trick up their sleeves. They all attack with delayed Molotovs, a new weapon, a new consumable weapon you can use. Whoops. Alright, Blades of Mercy not actually very good in this situation. Also, this is a treacherous place to fight. If you were wondering why I was calling it Livingstone earlier, you can sort of see an example of why with this gravestone that's sort of split open. There are actually a lot of interesting things you can glean from the environment if you look in the right places, but that's sort of beyond the scope of this stream. I'm not actually going to the places where it's relevant, for the most part. So, like I said earlier, these guys use delayed Molotovs, which are actually really easy to dodge. They just sort of stick on the ground and make a small explosion after a little while. They're kind of pointless. I don't think I've ever actually been hit by one when I've been trying to dodge it. Let me try and demo it now that I'm not under threat from a boom hammer. They are much less threatening than the normal variety of Molotovs, and I have never actually been able to use them myself to much effect. It's uncomfortably dark in here, but I don't think I actually have a torch equipped. There's some of the delayed Molotovs. This is a sort of lopsided version of the old shortcut to the Cleric Beast back in Central Yharnam. Now, this looks enticing. However, if you pay attention to your surroundings, you will notice that there's a bunch of things that look kind of flammable. So, once I get out of monocular vision here, this trap guarded the boom hammer, and if you just go in blindly and try to pick it up, the delayed Molotov on the old man's corpse will explode, and it will probably do a lot of damage to you, so be careful. I suppose I'll demo the boom hammer while I'm at it, if I can wield it. I'm not sure. Oh, I don't have enough strength on this character. Oops. I do want one of my other ones. Maybe I'll show it off there. Maybe later. Now, this way leads us to an interesting enemy. This is a NPC hunter encounter, but he looks a bit gnarly. He is using the beast claws, and something else that's making him look a little bit more beast-like than the average hunter. He will also be quite avid in using the beast roar, which is kind of annoying. Now, if you are experienced... Ow, shouldn't have done that. If you are experienced in Bloodborne, you will know that NPC hunter encounters will never use weapons and abilities that you yourself cannot use. So, this serves as a sort of preview to something you can get later. This can be a difficult fight on a lower level character, or just if you're not paying attention. Or if you just try to face tank everything like I'm doing. There we go. Okay, he's gone. For defeating that hunter, we get the Exploding Hammer badge, which lets you pick up a bunch of different items from the fountain messengers back in the dream, such as the boom hammer if you missed it somehow. It also lets you buy delayed Molotovs, but again, I don't like them very much, to be perfectly honest. Now, this is the aforementioned River of Blood, and it looks a little grody, and there's grody things in it. A lot of grody things. Best way to deal with the blood-sucking beasts is to use a weapon with reach, so let's switch to the Burial Blade. Now, fortunately, these guys are a good deal less troublesome, I say as I'm getting murdered, than the ones in Cainhurst Castle and the Chalice dungeons, because they have a tendency to spit poison at you, which, while annoying, isn't actually ruinous. Doesn't do that much damage, and it actually takes a lot for you to get poisoned. It's reasonably easy to dodge if you're on point, which I'm not. The real difficulty of this area comes from the fact that there's so frickin' many of them. A good strategy to deal with them is just to sort of bait one out. And give yourself more room to fight the next one. Now, just because they are a little easier to deal with does not mean they can't still fuck you up, so don't get complacent. Now, it's actually a bad idea to fight these guys, at least right now, because there are hunters up on the bridge that will snipe at you while you do so. And those piercing rifles do a lot of damage, so it's really not... Ow, case in point. It's really not advisable to try and take on that whole horde of bloodsuckers while these guys are shooting at you. Of course, going up doesn't necessarily mean an end to your problems, because they are well protected by village mobs. Including one more forlorn guy on the stairs that just insists on using the Molotovs. This is a difficulty. Alright. Not the most efficient use of bullets, but it was safe. Let's leave them alone for the time being. There's something more interesting over here, actually. We have this guy who is not trying to kill us, which is a rarity.
You're a hunter with your sanity, aren't you? Must have taken a wrong turn, then, eh? Well, we're more alike than you think. This is the hunter's nightmare, where hunters end up when drunk with blood. You've seen them before. Aimless, wandering hunters slavering like beasts. This is what the poor fools have to look forward to. So, don't be brash. Turn back before it's too late. Unless you've something of an interest in nightmares. Oh yes, I see.
Nightmares are fascinating.
Sit within the nightmare and cannot bear to leave it be. As if the spirit of Bergenworth lives on within you. Such inquisitive hunters will relish the nightmare. But beware. Secrets are secrets for a reason, and some do not wish to see them uncovered, especially when the secrets are particularly unseemly. Beware. Secrets are secrets, especially.
So this guy is Simon the Harrowed. He is a nominally friendly NPC that will sort of goad you along in your journey through the nightmare. He doesn't actually say anything useful, but it's interesting. Even more interesting is this. A lovely little shortcut. And one we're in need of because I'm running low on stuff. So let's just go ahead and return to the dream, which is definitely not on fire. Don't worry about it. Completely fine. There's nothing wrong here. See? The inside is completely 100% okay. The only thing on fire in here is the fireplace. It's fine. I was gonna look through and see, did I pick up? There we go. Old hunter cap. Did I pick up the old hunter garb? I think I did, but I think my... So weird. You know, I don't think I've ever picked up the old hunter garb. I don't actually know where to find it. I have every other piece of the old hunter set, but not the old hunter garb, which is the chest piece and the important part. Maybe I'll do a hunt for that. I don't know. So much garb. Garb, 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 garb. Sorry. Inside shop. And something that actually sort of perplexed me when I was first going through this area is that the headstone to warp back is actually over here. It's not by the others. So I thought you actually had to get grabbed by the amygdala every time you want to go into the nightmare, but that is fortunately not true. Gonna buy some more supplies while I'm here. I don't really have enough to buy anything useful, so might as well take advantage of the increased storage caps and buy some stuff so I don't have to farm later. So I was watching the Giant Bomb quick look of this the other day, and I noticed that Brad did actually pick up the old hunter's garb. However, I'm pretty sure I went to the area that he got it in and it wasn't there, so I'm gonna make another look, and if I can't find it, then we'll just move on. I have missed things before. For whatever reason, I've actually found rallying to be really helpful throughout this DLC. Usually I can sort of take or leave that system, but there are a couple of tools that you get here that are actually really effective at rallying. Now, where might it be? I'm pretty sure that it's in this area. I'm just not entirely sure where. Yes, I see you down there.
Oh, blood!
Something interesting about this variety of old hunter is that they use the old hunter's bone, which makes them all teleporty. It's a cool effect, but it's not actually very useful when you use it yourself, like so many of these things are. Was it here? No, those are the trousers. Well, I was close. God damn it. Blades of Mercy are real good against humanoid enemies, but against masses, not so much. Oh, beast blood pellet. I didn't know they dropped those. Stealth, as usual, is a viable approach to certain enemy encounters. Especially since I have such high skill. My visceral attacks do a ton of damage. Now, the hunters with the guns I have found to probably be the easiest variety because they don't have a lot of poise, and their melee attacks are actually pretty darn slow. And that hunter down there is having some problems. With elevation, apparently. This is not a fight you're gonna win, friend. Oh dear. Alright, I think I need to go down there and put him out of his misery. That was funny, but it was also sort of not at all instructive. I just don't know where to find the hunter's garb. It's gotta be here somewhere. Unless they, like, changed it from pre-release, which Brad was playing. I'm not seeing any item drops around here, so maybe I'm just barking up the wrong tree. I'll let him have fun with the beasties. Make my exit. One of the areas to the left of the big staircase. I will look. A nice thing about just sort of letting hunters do their thing is that you actually just get some blood echoes for free, because all of the things killed in the area will count towards that total for whatever reason, even though I had nothing to do with it, really. Oh dear. Well, that could have been better, could have been worse. Ah, there it is. Okay. I think I always just blow past this area because I don't want to get hit by a boulder. I'll go ahead and put it on, since I took so much time finding it. Thank you for the call out. looks pretty nice. Reasonable resistances, too. I'll just come check on and see how he's doing. Hasn't taken a hit yet. Oh, I didn't even know he could use the torch. Oh, damn. Okay. This is still Bloodborne, even though I'm at an appropriate level. These guys can still murder me. That's fine. I wanted to go back anyway. It was only like 9,000 echoes too, so I'm not going to go bother and get them. Instead, we will move forward. Onward and upward. Now, one thing you should watch out for when you're fighting those hunters in particular is that they can do a double shot. They can actually keep firing their weapon without necessarily going into a recovery animation. So, I would like to show it off, but they only tend to do it when you're out of range, and it's sort of dangerous to be out of range. Alright. There are a number of different ways we can explore, though this one is a dead end with an item. The Constable's Gloves. That's another new set that I actually like quite a bit. Like I said earlier, the best way to deal with these guys is to use a weapon with long reach and to sort of bait them out. They don't like coming up the stairs, so they can only use the blood spit attack. Which, if you're expecting it, is pretty easy to dodge. So you can just sort of corral them. It takes a little while, but it's safe. It's also entirely possible to just run past them, but just for the purposes of the stream, I'm going to try and avoid doing that until it becomes necessary to save time. There are an awful lot of these things. And even the blood spit can pile on if there's 5 of them spitting at you at once. Fortunately, they also drop some blood-tinged gems. Which can be useful if you're a heavy user of firearms. I am not really, so... Even the villagers really hurt if they get off a full combo on you, which is more likely than I would be comfortable admitting in this area because I admit that I have trouble seeing in the dark. I should probably equip a torch the next time I come in here. I wonder if I ever bought the hand lantern. Probably not on this character, though I think they finally fixed the glitch where it drains stamina, or your stamina regens slower if you have it equipped. This area is sort of a bummer, just because there's so many of these things with very little variety, and it just kind of takes a while to cut through them. This was almost insurmountable when I was going through here on the low-level character. They just had so much health, and there were so few ways I could actually get in on them safely. Fortunately, I did figure out that the Beast Cutter's R2 attack was actually really useful. That's how I got through, more or less. It was difficult, but not impossible. It was also a little cheesy, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Now, for this area, I'm actually definitely going to equip a torch. This is a bit of a secret. Hey, come back here. There we go. As usual, these guys drop bloodstone chunks, which are always in demand. So this leads to a hunter encounter with a minigun. It's sort of terrifying. However, it's not insurmountable. Basically, the strategy is you wait for him to switch to his melee weapon and stop firing. And to avoid the minigun fire, you just sort of circle around the rock so he can't hit you. It does a lot of damage, and it can stun lock you pretty easily, so you have to be careful. He's no slouch in melee either, but he is more manageable that way. I received a friend request. Not a good time for it, but, you know. Now, like most NPCs hunters, this guy is actually really durable. Fortunately, he doesn't seem to be keen on healing, so I should be able to kill him without too much trouble. Never mind, spoke too soon. The problem is that it's really hard not to give this guy opportunities to heal because you need to respect the minigun. There we go. For our troubles, we get a Gatling gun of our very own. We can't use it because it requires like 27 strength or something to carry around a giant Gatling gun. It's pretty powerful, and it makes this weird strength bloodtage hybrid build more viable than you might think. Now, in addition to the Gatling gun hunter, there are also some beasties down here. Presumably they're hiding from the old hunters up above because they're kind of terrifying, and I would hide from them too if I had to deal with them every day. Now, there's not just normal beasts, there's also a blood-starved beast in here. A fully armed and operational blood-starved beast, which can be a difficulty. Especially if you come in through the other way where you drop down. Whoops. In addition to this place being dark as shit, it's also important to be able to get a good look at this guy so you can get what his tells are. Whoops. Sometimes when he retreats too far into the darkness, even a torch won't help you that much because his attacks have a lot of reach. This is not a terrible battle if you're expecting it, but if you're not expecting it, you will probably die. Now, before we explore the cave fully, I want to go into something real quick. Let's take a look at the Gatling gun we just got. Here we go. Okay. This is a highly customized portable version of the stationary Gatling gun operated by the old hunter Jura in Old Yharnam. This was the weapon of choice of the youngest of Jura's 3 companions. So, if we sort of infer from that, then this cave is actually sort of a miniature version of Old Yharnam, where one of Jura's friends has sort of taken up the mantle of guardian to keep out the old hunters from killing them. We, of course, just sort of fucked that up because we wanted a sweet gun, but, you know, it's a nice thing just to make that connection. The gun is not the only thing nice in here. There's also a variety of bloodstone. And something kind of goofy. The amygdalin arm. This is another thing I'll have to show off on another character because I believe it requires more strength to use than I have. Yeah, 17. The amygdalin arm is a blunt crushing mace kind of weapon that is essentially a bone taken from a dead amygdala. Let's take a look at the description because it's kind of funny. Strictly speaking, the amygdalin arm is no trick weapon of any sort, but certain madmen wield them like clubs. It starts as a large, tough, blunt weapon formed of bone, but when extended, the hand quivers as if it were still alive. It's sort of like the dragon tooth from Dark Souls if it was horrifying. But at any rate, we're done with the cave for now, so back out we go. I mentioned this on Twitter the other day, but it bears repeating that this DLC actually makes the character of Jura a whole lot more interesting and compelling. Now, here is another bit of a trouble spot. These four, whatchamacallits, the blood-sucking beasts, are guarding a special item. And I want it, so I have to cut through. Fortunately, these guys are sort of stymied by these gravestones. So if you have a weapon with long reach, you can just sort of abuse that and then retreat when they finally find their way around and they'll reset. And if you're lucky, you can catch one during the retreat and take it out and thin the horde. I would not necessarily recommend taking them all on at once, no matter how confident you're feeling, because this is a lot of enemies, and they don't stagger easily. I am fairly confident that I can handle it because I know my limits and when to retreat. Even so, I am still taking quite a bit of damage. I'm actually sort of surprised by how easily I did that, but I think it's because, like I keep saying, the first time I went through this area, it was with a drastically underleveled character. Which weapon is who using? I shouldn't need the torch, so I'll just switch back to my hunter pistol for parrying. Whoops. One thing that really annoys me about the old hunters is how much damage their blunderbusses do. They're not especially hard to dodge, but they come out quick and they cover a pretty surprising distance. Whoops. There we go. Things seem to be getting progressively more dire the further we progress. Oops. Torches tend to do a lot of damage too, and they come out extremely fast. Killing those two will become important a bit later. Friend, are you stuck under there? No. Yes? There we go. angle actually went a little funny here, and I'm not sure why. Alright, so there is another new weapon over there that I actually really want, but to get it we have to beat this fella. He is a much stronger version of the Hunter Scythe Hunters that we've been facing earlier. He's faster, more aggressive, and he does a lot more damage. That took out more than half my health. This guy does not screw around. I would not recommend trying to gun parry him while he has the smaller version out. He's just way too quick. He also drops a vermin, which is something that has to do with a new covenant in the game that I have not joined on this character, so I'm not actually entirely sure why I got that item. And there we go. We get our very own version of the Beast Hunter Scythe. I'm actually, I think, going to use that because it appeals to me and it is a skilled weapon. Alright, you can't actually drop down from that direction. This is why you want to have killed those two down here, because it's your only way down from that area. And sometimes, if things go south, you might want to make a quick retreat. That guy is really hard. There's also an item over there we can get by a little bit of creative falling. Not that creative. Let's try that again and do it right. There we go. Once you land on the beam properly, you can go over and claim the Constable's Garb. Which is about what it says it is. You look like an old-timey police officer that runs around with billy clubs in a car. The way to progress is over this hill. Now, this is actually a pretty significant hurdle. There's another one of those large fellas, except this time he's got a cannon. Now, fortunately, the cannon that he is using has limited range, but it also has splash damage and unlimited ammo. So actually getting in on him is going to be difficult, especially when you consider there's another one over there. This encounter is a little bit absurd. It requires a fairly specific strategy. And that strategy usually doesn't involve getting hit. Help? Can I move at all? Where am I? Well then, that was an experience. I hope you all enjoyed the look at Large Guardman's crotch. well, not a big deal. It's actually not that far. And now I will explain one of the, probably the best way to get through this area, and that way is just to run. You might get tagged a little bit by the spit, but once you make it through the tunnel, they'll leave you alone. Now, it's not actually quite as viable to run through this area because there's so many enemies, and the old hunter over there actually has a lot of ways to tag you on the ladder, so it's best to just be patient and take him out first. Speaking of being patient, it's also better to get him into this area so you don't have to deal with the crows at the same time. Now, one thing that I haven't really shown off is that if your bullets hit, these guys are quite vulnerable to getting parried because their attacks have such long wind-ups. Whoop! Wow, there's 23 people watching right now. Hello everybody. I didn't quite expect to have this many people. I guess people are interested in the old hunters. For the new arrivals, I would just like to say that I have played through this before, though that has not seemingly made me immune to fucking up and dying. Now let's see. Oh good, my echoes are just right there. So, probably the best way to handle this encounter, much like a lot of things in this area, is just to run past it, because these guys aren't especially fast. But I'd like to at least show off a way to beat them legitimately. And try not to get stuck up against the wall again. Visceral attacks are very effective against these guys. However, if you're a little slow, as I just demonstrated, and you sort of do a cross counter on the bullet parry, then you can actually get knocked far away enough to make the opportunity actually impossible. So, it takes a bit of practice. Now, this fella presents a challenge of his own in just getting to him largely unscathed. Now, because his gun is so enormous, he can actually just use it as a club, and it does a lot of damage. He also has a really annoying habit of playing a first-person shooter game while the rest of us are playing a Souls game, and shooting the ground with his rockets. I think I need something with more stagger. It does a lot of damage, and it's actually super hard to dodge. That's a grab attack, by the way, and you really don't want to get hit by those. Okay, that's actually a really difficult fight to get through legitimately. However, with them out of the way, we can now explore largely unimpeded to find the Butcher's set. I wonder if... Nah, I think I'll stop talking to myself first. If you are a part of the New Covenant, the League, then you will also find some old hunter bells around here that let you summon Confederates. Which, Confederate in the classical sense is in, like, friend and ally and not, you know, racist rebellion. This is a nice little safe haven. A much appreciated lamp. Now, one thing I should warn you all about is that the DLC is super fond of using those guys as traps. Because now we have to deal with another souped-up hunter. I mean, it's usually worth it if you can kill them and get the drop, because chunks are precious. Oops. This guy, unlike his brethren, is actually much more keen on using the transform state of his beast cutter, which makes him a bit more dangerous at close range, and he's also just beefier in general. Much like the Beast Scythe Hunter that was guarding the Beast Scythe. Ah! Crows! Usually not threatening, but there's a lot of them. Well, that's inexplicable. Somebody's pelting shellfish at me, and I don't know why. Well, on to more important things, such as the Whirligig Saw. I believe the Whirligig, yeah, I don't have enough strength to use it, but it's actually the weapon that I use primarily on my first playthrough here, and it's really good and really cool because it's a Whirligig Saw. Now, before we progress, I'm actually going to go back to the dream and upgrade my scythe a little bit. I will probably swap the Blades of Mercy out for it, because it's a similar weapon in its untransformed state, and also the Blades of Mercy are kind of overdone at this point. I've streamed a lot of that back in the day. Let's see what we actually have available. Stentor Scythe. Plenty of blood shards. And enough bloodstone chunks to get it up to +7. That should do for now. It's a little bit weaker than what we're using, but we should also stick some blood gems in it, I guess. Actually, I should probably take them out of the Blades of Mercy first. Huh, my blood gems on this character are actually kind of bad. Maybe I'll find some better ones as I go along in the DLC, or maybe I won't. Or maybe all my good ones are just in the scythe right now. I don't know. Well, that'll have to do. Let's take a look. Oh, yeah. Most of my good ones are in the scythe. I'm sorry, the burial blade. Alright, let's equip the Beast Hunter. Equip the Beast Hunter scythe. Like the Blades of Mercy, it actually has a very fast attack pattern. And it also carries you a good distance, which is actually kind of important because it saves you on dodging forward to close the distance. The transformed form is fairly standard. It's just a big curved sword. It's a bit slower than the average kind of swing from a light weapon, but it's stronger and it has good reach. Let's rock this for a while, see where it gets us. I guess I should also use some echoes, just in case. Some more bullets. I already have max fire paper, but I could always use some more. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and buy the hand lantern while I'm here. Just in case. I might need it, since it doesn't screw you over anymore. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need to call the burial blade, or I'm going to confuse myself real darn quick. Oh well, 20k isn't that much. We'll see what happens. I'm also gonna change up my runes real quick. Both these are good, but Blood Rapture should probably go. Oh, I did it again. What's a good one for this? All damage reduction plus 4% would be good. More echoes might be useful. I think actually that I will go for the plus 4% damage reduction. I'm also going to change my gear up a little bit, because the next fight is pretty darn hard. Basically, you want stuff that gives you as much physical defense as possible. I'm not going to wear the Mensis cage. That's a bit much. It looks sort of stupid, but it'll do. It'll do. Let me put my fire paper where it should be. So the way to actually progress is along here and not down the stairs. That was just to the Whirligig-Saw, which is pretty deserving of a secret path in and of itself because that weapon is bonkers. Now, this enemy is sort of inexplicable. This is one of the Witch of Hemwick type enemies. And it's just sort of standing here. Not doing anything. Completely oblivious to the world. And also there's this guy, who I kind of love and I kind of hate. He's not technically an enemy, but he does respawn and he serves a valuable purpose. He drops 5 blood vials each time you kill him, no matter what. It's only +7, so the scythe's a bit weaker at the moment. But I do have my Burial Blade as a backup, just in case things get hairy. Which they probably will.
Silent beast. A great terror looms. Have mercy. Have mercy upon us.
This is Ludwig, and he has seen better days, I tell you what. He is also probably one of the hardest bosses in the game. He is extremely aggressive. His attacks come out quickly, and they're difficult to predict. However, he is not immune to being... What the hell was that? He is not immune to being staggered. And when you spend enough time with him, you start to learn his various tells and the points where it's safe to attack, or safer. He also doesn't want for a variety of moves. I think I'm going to switch to the Burial Blade, just because this might take a while. This is probably his most obnoxious attack. He'll do a wind-up jump, and then he'll sort of home in on you. The only way I've found to avoid that consistently, ouch, is to basically, as soon as he starts doing it, sprint in a straight line. His normal jump can just be dodged away from normally. Generally speaking, you do not want to attack him head-on. He has a lot of attacks that can punish that really badly. Once you deal 50% of his health, this happens.
You were at my side all along. My true mentor, my guiding light.
And now he effectively changes forms. Instead of running around as a beast, he is now using the Holy Moonlight Blade. The fight, I would say, gets a bit easier from here, but not, like, significantly. Ow. I might run out of blood vials, and that will be difficult. I would say I'm having more trouble on this form because I am less familiar with it. Ah, here we are. Once you do enough damage, he will stagger. Oh, never mind. I have to talk about something. This is really dangerous. You need to get by his side immediately. This guy can really fuck you up if you let him. Alright, I'm out of blood vials. Alright, beat him. Phew. That was closer than I would have liked. Our reward for beating him is the guidance rune. Now, if I made that look easy or even manageable, it's not. I was only able to beat him on my first try here because I spent hours on him earlier in my first playthrough, learning all of his tells and attacks, and even still, with the added bonus of having to talk and with a different weapon, I almost died. Ugh. It is a fight to get your adrenaline pumping, to be sure. Somehow his head ended up over here.
Good hunter, have you seen the thread of light? Just a hair, a fleeting thing. Yet I clung to it, steeped as I was in the stench of blood and beasts. I never wanted to know what it really was. Really, I didn't.
There's not much more we can do from him aside from this. There are actually a couple of ways to go about that in getting his Holy Moonlight Sword. The most straightforward is just to give him a mercy killing, but you can also talk to him while wearing church garb, and you will get different dialogue with him. I think I'll go back to things that look a little less ridiculous. Go ahead and talk to the doll.
Gammon awake.
Yeah, I know. He's been waiting for like a year at this point.
Very well, let me. Farewell, good maid.
So for those curious to know how I have the Burial Blade, but I'm still on the first New Game cycle, what happened was I beat Gehrman, and since I had consumed all of the umbilical cords, which is a really weird thing to say without context, holy shit, but since I did that, the moon presence descended, but what I did was I used the Bold Hunter's Mark to get out of the fight, and then I simply bought the Burial Blade from the merchants, and I've gone on my merry way PvPing and now doing the DLC. How did you die? Oh. That's how. Foolish fella. Alright, I'm gonna need to refill my supply of blood vials, I think. I used 20, and that's a fairly significant chunk. More than I would have liked to, but you know. Now that we have defeated Ludwig, Simon the Herald has come to offer his comments.
A tragic figure, but he will shame himself no longer. He died with his ideals untarnished. He was a true hero, and earned that much at least. Do you know why the hunters are drawn to this nightmare? Because it sprouted from their very misdeeds. Things that some would rather keep secret. A pitiful tale of petty arrogance, really. High time someone exposed the whole charade. Now, go on ahead. You seek nightmares and the secrets within, do you not?
I suppose I do. Whoever voice acts this guy has, quite frankly, stupendous enunciation abilities. So, Holy Moonlight Blade is another thing that I can't use right now because I don't have the strength, but I promise that before this is over, I'll switch to my other character that has all these strength weapons and show off what they do. Now, the thing about the Holy Moonlight Sword is that it is very good, but it is also a weapon that requires a lot of investment. It's actually sort of a bone thrown to arcane players. I'll show it off a bit later. It's really cool, actually. more blood vials up here, just in case you need a refill during the fight. I should have remembered that, but then again, picking them up while he's trying to kill you is probably a bad idea.
Shrouded by night with its steady stride, coloured by blood but always clear of mind, proud unto the church. Beasts are a curse and curse is a shackle. Only ye, the true blades of the church.
Interesting. There's actually a bit of a nasty ambush in this hallway. Along with the church attendant fella, who is seemingly not very observant, there's also this guy. And he has one of the super high-powered piercing bullet weapons. And fighting them in this hallway is actually real difficult. Knock it off. Oh, I should also discuss the guidance rune. I forgot to do that. The guidance rune is something that greatly increases your potential to rally. It's one of the things actually that makes rallying really good in this DLC, because if you equip it, you have a pretty enormous window. There are a bunch of different cells in here, but a lot of them are locked. We ducked in here momentarily to take refuge, but let's see what's at the bottom.
Are you a hunter? Well, that's very odd. You hear the toll of the bell?
Well, there are a lot of bells that we can potentially hear the toll of, but if you look closely, he is holding a bell, and it's not making any noise.
The beast you seek will not be found here. Go back to your heart, and if you have the chance, put this light behind you. Places better left unfound. Secrets better left alone. These walls have brazenly run. Bear in mind, some places are better left untouched, and some secrets are better left alone. Only fools brazenly run.
This guy's not much help, and the door is locked, so we'll have to come back later. He does seem to be at least a little bit privy to what's going on, though. But like Simon, he's not inclined to actually say anything useful. In here we find an interesting new weapon, the Fist of Gracia. It's a punching weapon, but it's used in the offhand, and it's not really something you use to do damage, but instead to stagger. I'm not entirely sure if you can parry with it per se, but a quick punch will actually do a lot of poise damage to most enemies. I might try it out a little. Yes, exactly. There's a bunch of rats with weird glowing eyes in here, so we better get rid of them. Now, I don't have the guidance rune equipped, and maybe I should, so my rallies are not particularly great right now. The rats guarded a bloodstone chunk, which is always valuable. This chant might be familiar to you if you were paying attention before the Vicar Amelia fight. Now, unfortunately, this is actually a double trouble hunter fight, and it's super hard. One at a time is bad enough. I wish this guy would switch to the threaded cane form. Now, fortunately for us... Whoa! He switched to the other weapon. Actually, I believe it's a woman. At any rate, the other hunter that is chanting will usually only attack with a arcane projectile. And she isn't intent on running anywhere, so you can actually use this to your advantage to separate them and largely fight the Black Garb hunter one-on-one. However, if you approach this fight wrongly, you will be punished pretty badly. There we go. Visceral attacks never do as much to hunters as you'd like them to. Another thing that you can do is use the beds for cover, but they're a little inconsistent. It's better to use the coffin here. Whoops. Now, if you do end up getting hit by the arcane projectile, it hurts a lot, so... you know. Fortunately, the greatsword of the Ludwig's Holy Blade is pretty easy to parry on, so this went better than it could have. Alright, now, that's one of them down, but there's still the other. And while she doesn't move very fast, she's far from helpless. She also uses the threaded cane. It's a bit faster than this incarnation of the Beast Scythe, so I might switch back. Whoop. That dashing combo opener is actually really good. I think I underestimated this the first time I found it. That is really effective at getting distance on these backpedaling enemies. It's like I'm fighting myself. Whoop. Throughout the entire fight, she'll do her chant without cease. I mean, that's why she can't move very quickly. She runs out of breath. There we go. That took quite some time, but we were victorious. Need those bullets. So the thing that she was using, the projectile, is actually a new hunter tool that we can get a little bit later. And the projectile was not coming from her mouth, it was actually coming from, surprise, surprise, her eyes. Eyes are sort of important in Bloodborne, as you might be aware. This altar is our ultimate destination, and where we use the eye pendant. We just need to perform a little bit of brain surgery on the statue. By inserting the eye pendant, we get the elevator to move. It is not the most efficient method of travel, but again, you have to consider this is something that a lot of people are trying to keep secret. So it does. There's the lamp here for our troubles, but there's also a little bit something extra to this elevator. So if we activate it, but then quickly run off, we are rewarded with a special item. Lawrence's skull. Skull of Lawrence, the first vicar of the Healing Church. In reality, he became the first cleric beast, and his human skull only exists within the nightmare. The skull is a symbol of Lawrence's past and what he failed to protect. He is destined to seek his skull, but even if he found it, it could never restore his memories. So you might recall, back in the main game, in reality, as tenuously as we can call it that, we found a similar skull on a similar altar after we beat Vicar Amelia. This was also Lawrence's skull, except it was his skull after he had transformed into a cleric beast, and it gave us the password to Byrgenwerth. This might have some similar significance. But we're not done with the elevator just yet. If we activate it one more time, and then get on it, treasure! For our troubles, we get the church cannon. Now, the church cannon is yet another new weapon that I can't even hope to use, because not only does it require high strength, it also requires moderately high blood tinge. It just occurred to me that the audio levels on this are probably fucked, but whatever. It's an impromptu stream. Don't worry about it. It's fine. This is the last time we'll mess around with the elevator, I swear. A way to skip some of this tomfoolery is to just come in after you've raised it through the lantern in Ludwig's arena, but that means you have to deal with loading time, so I'm not sure if it's especially faster. Certain types of beast have an abnormal fear of flame. Oh, what do you know? There are bloodstone chunks for sale here. I didn't know that they had added that, but somebody mentioned it in the chat, so here we are. I think I'll go ahead and buy one. 30 inside is pretty steep. There we go. There are actually a bunch of different ways to get blood echoes quicker. In fact, I think I'll show off one right now just because we're sort of in a break. First thing you want to do is, if you have one, or if you have multiple for that instance, for that matter, you want to equip your moon runes. These essentially act as covetous serpent rings and increase the soul payout, or the echo payout. Now, there are a lot of different areas that you can use to farm souls. I'm sorry, I'm switching back into Dark Souls mode. I'm sorry. Farm echoes. One that is fairly easy to get to is to go to the first floor of the Nightmare Lecture building. And once you're in the lecture building, what you want to do is go to a particular room. This room has a bunch of slime scholars in it. Once you get their attention, you want to corral them into this hallway. And then all you have to do is just kill them as they stack up. It's easier if you don't just run into all of their attacks, but I'm trying to be expedient. Whoops. This is a fairly risk-free, despite the way I'm fucking it up, way to get a lot of blood echoes quickly. Ow. It works best if you have a weapon that does piercing, fire, or arcane damage. These guys are fairly resistant to blunt and slashing attacks. So, and once you've killed all of them, and you go in to make sure that you got all of them, you just go back to the lamp, reload the area, and come back, and you get another, depending on your rune setup and overkill bonuses, about 13,000 echoes. I like this method because it's actually available pretty early in the game. And it's not particularly difficult, but later on, there are areas that are better and more efficient to farm echoes in, and I will show one of those off real quick. Once I spend some of these. Yeah, Gurman's dead. Sorry. Actually, I think I'll get some more endurance.
Farewell, good handmaid.
I'm trying to remember the location of moon runes. There is one moon, the basic moon rune can be found in the unseen village of Yahargul. That's available as soon as you kill the Bloodstarved Beast, actually, if you go there and you get kidnapped by a bagman. The strongest moon rune is found near the end of the game, so that might not be very helpful. I can't actually remember where the middle one is found. I will have to look that up real quick. Yeah, I'll show this off real quick and then I'll look that up, then we can get back to things. So, the Nightmare of Mensis is actually a very late game area. And that's why it's good for grinding echoes out in. Basically, what you want to do, you can ignore the dogbird hybrids if you so desire. But basically, you just make a run of this place, you kill these guys. You don't die to them. That does more damage than I remember. Sorry, I haven't actually played this area in a while. This might be a little rough. But with fully stacked moon runes, these guys give 4,000 a pop. And they're not that hard to kill, so if you're not like me and forget how to fight them, you just sort of go through here. And there is one particular exploit, I'm not sure if it's an exploit, but a feature that you can use to speed this process along. I just have to find it. Let me see if I remember how to do this. Alright, so you find the gross eye pig. You get the eye pig's attention by running past it. And you run all the way up here so that they start fighting the shadows. And for basically no effort, I just got 16,000 echoes. And you can go down here and kill these guys too. Whoops. Naturally, this works best with moon runes, but you can also do it without. So this is probably the most efficient way outside of Chalice dungeons. Usually the pigs win this fight, I think. And it's sort of unfortunate that they didn't. Because I have proven myself to be very ineffective at fighting these guys. I'll switch to the smaller form, it's quicker. God, that hurts! I don't remember it hurting so. But at any rate, you can see that I went from about 10k to 80k in not a whole lot of time at all, so if you need echoes real badly and you're at this point in the game, this is the place to come. Oh, one of the pigs is still alive. Hell. Oh, I deserve that. I deserve that really badly. Alright, that's a lot of souls. I'm gonna see if I can try to recover them and not get into a dumb death spiral. I have DLC areas to do. Also a reasonable source of blood vials and quicksilver bullets, I suppose. Alright, let's hope that if an enemy absorbed my echoes, it was this pig. But it's always sort of random as to who gets them, so we shall have to see. This pig is always the easiest to take care of because you can sneak attack him. Alright, he didn't have him. That's unfortunate. Oh, that guy did. Alright. Well, first verse, same as this verse. Second verse, same as the first verse. I'm gonna try and get him to fight. Hopefully, the one that has my echoes will die. Then again, it doesn't seem like anything is dying, so maybe I screwed that up. Wonderful. Maybe I timed it wrong. Alright guys, follow me! There we go. Fight the pigs! Well, this one sort of went awry, but it's okay. Alright, and now I have more echoes than I know what to do with. Time to leave before some random invader comes or something. That's not the right way. Alright, I guess I'll level up a little bit and then get back on task.
Very well, then. Farewell, good maid.
Alright, I think that just to show it off, I will equip the guidance rune. I do like Claw Mark quite a bit, but I'm not sure it'll be... Actually, I'll equip Claw Mark, yeah. And... Odin Writhe. Get those bullets. So I don't know about you, but I am quite intrigued. I'm quite intrigued indeed by Lawrence's skull. So after I make a couple preparations, let's go investigate. Screwed that up a little bit. Fortunately, he drops a blood vial, so it's not a big deal. Oh, I'm in trouble. Hi, friend. Don't worry about it. Normally, they're not so aggressive. Normally. Depending on how this goes, the villagers can actually do a lot of damage to this guy. They're not doing too well, though. He's sort of spamming his headbutt. I'm gonna try and get him on even ground. Oh, I had the punch equipped. I tried to cast punch. That's not what I was going for. It was probably worth the blood vials. Oh shit, one sec, I'm getting a phone call. I will be right with you! Well, that was quick. At any rate. Now, if you were at all like me, you found the presence of this flaming cleric beast to be somewhat perplexing. Now that we have returned with Lawrence's skull, things are a little different. He has such a hangover right now you don't even know. So this is Lawrence, the first vicar. Ow. Lawrence is a little bit unique. He is a cleric beast type enemy like the cleric beast and Amelia, but he also uses fire attacks. And I just got fucking owned. I will attempt to not get owned the next time. Man, I go through Ludwig in one try and the easy boss I die to without landing a hit. What is wrong with me? Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, Lawrence is unique among beasts in that he is on fire and thus does not actually take very much damage from fire. So the classical weakness of put fire on your weapon will not apply here. You also want to stack fire resistance if you are able, because a lot of his attacks are fire-based. Dickhole. The flaming boulder trap, while amusing, is a little bit annoying making this boss run because you always sort of have to wait for it. Same with the opening of the door. But, you know, you can just sort of run past that guy. It's not a big deal. He'll get distracted by the villagers. Alright, let's go ahead and try this again. I just pick these up so they don't distract me later. The camera is not being my friend right now. I'm sort of resentful of that. He's also doing a lot more damage than I remember him doing. Oh well. I'll figure it out eventually. I'll also switch to a quicker weapon. That jump did not make any sort of physical sense, I just want to say. Fortunately, since I do have guidance equipped, I am recovering quite a bit of health just from rallying. If I can find a safe opportunity to hit him, which I can't? This is interesting. Well, I will say this. I'm not actually very experienced with this fight. I only did it once because I one-shotted on my other character. I was using the whirligig saw, which is super effective against this guy, so now that I have to use something different, I might be struggling a little. I'll give it a few more tries, and then I might just break for dinner. Sometimes he doesn't shoot you, and at those times it's wonderful. This guy always shoots you. That was just dumb on my part. Pardon me. come. At least I didn't use anything. This is curious. I don't remember the camera freaking out quite so badly. I just need to adapt to a different playstyle, I think. I'm wise to your tricks. The armor I have equipped actually has very high fire resistance. It's the Charred Hunter's set. Why are you... I might want to go back and change my runes a little, actually. I know I have a fire resist rune somewhere. I will admit that I'm just sort of bad in Cleric Beast fights in general, because he screams so much and that kind of throws me off. One of the annoying things about Lawrence is that a lot of his attacks can hit you, even when you're standing directly behind him, just because, you know, fire splash damage. The hug is a grab attack, which you naturally don't actually want to get hit by. Grab attacks are almost universally nasty. Whoa. The Lawrence's health to blood vial ratio is not looking good. Aha! If I can get some more of those, that will help. Oh god, I can't see anything. Please help. Okay, we got him down to Form 2, which I find a little easier. At least I remember it being easier. He loses his legs. And he just sort of crawls around and spews magma everywhere. Also, that attack has perfect tracking. Ow. I'm actually going to go switch up my runes real quick, and then I'll give it one more try, and then I think I'll go eat dinner. Shouldn't be giving me so much trouble, but it is. There we go. This should be a better setup for fighting him. Also, I might want to consider... Actually, no, I don't. I thought about maybe putting a Beast Hunter gem in, but honestly, I think that my physical gems are just better. Wrong thing. Yeah, you can only fight him if you find Lawrence's skull, which is not exactly a difficult thing to do. You just have to mess with the elevator a little bit. He is an optional boss. And a totally optional area, so he's like double optional. But you do get something pretty cool for beating him. Any day now. Thank you. For whatever reason, that guy will pretty much always ignore you in favor of the villagers. Well, I screwed that up pretty badly. I'm trying not to make too big of a deal out of it, but the camera is impressively bad in this fight. I think the last time I just managed to overwhelm them with how powerful the Whirligig Saw is. The Burial Blade is pretty good, but less so for raw damage. If you can tell what's going on, I applaud you. It's probably the lock-on, but I'm really bad without lock-on. I'll give it a try. Sort of hoping that these guys will drop blood vials. Whoops. No such luck, it looks like. Oh, no, there's one. Okay. 19 will suffice. Pardon me. No, the Whirligig in its transform state is serrated. I'm almost positive of that. Oh wait, I'm supposed to go unlocked. Didn't help. I think that might be because I'm bad. Where did you run into in terms of walls? I was expecting to die over and over again on Ludwig again, but I guess I'm just not as familiar with this boss yet. I don't recall my loadout being that different, but maybe it's just stream anxiety. To try something. I'm gonna get hit. Oh yeah, you can just wiggle past that. I had no idea. Move, please. Please move. Thank you. Ow. Well, I'm doing okay, I guess. Ugh. Okay, I think I need to go get something to eat. Alright, one more try, and then I'm gonna take a break. I mean, there's no way to tell for sure if they're serrated, but it does do a heck of a lot of damage to beast-type enemies, so that is my assumption. And I try to remember to not lock on, but I have difficulty with that. Ugh. Alright, sorry, I'm gonna have to take a break. Alright, now one more try. One more try. But I'm actually going to do something real quick. I hate going away defeated. I'm gonna go with the Blades of Mercy. See if that helps me. They're a lot faster, so it's easier to correct from mistakes. I'm glad that I discovered that you can just sort of inch around that. Have fun, boys! Oh, I mistimed that real bad. Ugh. Okay, dinner time. Oh, that's disappointing. Oh, hell with it. One more. God damn it. I'm so bad at this. I guess it's just kind of frustrating me because I beat him so easily the first time, and now that I'm dying over and over again, I don't really know why. If that makes sense. Nah. Well, he just had to do that, didn't he? I'm just gonna experiment a little bit. I need to learn the timing to that, though. There's no excuse for that. Alright, I think I'm just on tilt now, so it's time to go. Thank you for watching, everyone. I might come back a little bit later, but I don't know, this is frustrating me in a weird way.